So, Batwoman episode 2. I'm just gonna jump right into it and still say that it's just okay right now. I would even say that I felt like it was the same as the premiere episode, and if you watched my review for that, you will know that I said that I felt like it wasn't great. Like, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't awesome either. It was just like, okay, you know. So in all honesty, I don't want to beat around the bush, and this is just my opinion. Like, I know some of you may love Batwoman, I know some of you may hate it, and you know, I'm just kind of like in the in-between bit. This episode just felt like it was of the same quality as I said of the premiere episode, and if I'm being generous, then I guess I would go as far as saying that it built upon it in terms of perhaps improving upon it marginally. So I think that is a good thing, obviously, and it means that I still think, just like what I said in episode 1 with my review, that it has potential, and there were things about this episode that I really enjoyed. Definitely don't misunderstand me here. I'm not saying that there aren't interesting and decent things about Batwoman episode 2, but overall, when judging it as a show, you know, I have to think about a few factors, like very obvious ones, that is, in terms of when it comes to watching a show, I want to watch it as a piece of entertainment. So like, as a result of that, am I truly entertained to a level where I think that I want to carry on watching this week to week on the same level as like other shows that truly do entertain me that way? Or overall, if the show's quality is good in a variety of different factors in comparison to other similar shows and even other various things. But you know, after finishing episode 2, I still kind of feel not really impressed with the show, and for the most part it just feels very mediocre. But you know, disclaimer, this is just episode 2, and yet again, I'm not hating on this show. I just feel like I need to make that clear, because you know, sometimes people, when you criticize things, even though that's the point of this review, get very bitter about it. So Batwoman episode 2 kind of continues the flashbacks with a 15-year-old flashback of Kate Kane losing her sister Beth, who we found out to be Alice, the leader of the Wonderland gang, who has recently had Gotham in her crosshairs. And we still see Kate Kane continuing to use the journal entry thing that she was doing at the end of last episode and recording her story for Bruce Wayne to read one day. And I wonder if they'll keep this element up or if they'll kind of slowly fade it out of the show. I do think it's like a nice touch though, for wherever Bruce Wayne is, he can look back and read about what he missed unfold in his city and be proud of his cousin who has protected it in his absence. And I keep seeing some people say how weird her suit looks at the minute, as if they're really thinking that this adjusted Batman suit that she's wearing right now in the episodes is her actual Batwoman suit. Now make no mistake, that is not true. She is getting this suit that you are seeing on screen right now, like the one we saw in the Elseworlds crossover, and after looking at the promo for episode 3, you can see that she will sport it in the next episode, as another running theme in this episode is that the Batman fever is upon Gotham City, with the whole city wondering if the Batman has returned after the events of episode 1, where Kate Kane, you know, obviously was flying around the city looking like the Batman because she was kind of in his suit. So during this episode, at several points, we saw foreshadowing that through Gotham getting their hopes up for a hero who isn't returning anytime soon. We got little pointers, whether that's from Luke Fox or the city itself, that maybe it needs a new one, and that Kate shouldn't keep running around in the Batman suit because, you know, it gives this false hope for Batman's return. And this obviously is launching us into the debut of Batwoman in her actual Batwoman suit in Gotham City. That will be happening very soon, and as I said, you can check out the promo for next week's episode, and it actually looks pretty cool. Like, as I said, even though I'm finding the episodes very average at the minute, it doesn't mean that, you know, as they unfold, it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. So, you know, don't take my criticism as complete negativity, because it's not intended to be. Now let's talk about Ruby Rose's Kate Kane. I said in my episode 1 review that, you know, I really think she suits Batwoman. You know, from the Elseworlds crossover, I've really bought it. I really liked her as it. But, you know, there's been criticisms out there about people, you know, saying stuff about Ruby Rose's acting, and I wasn't really one to think that. However, in Batwoman episode 1, I was saying she still needs to sell me on Kate Kane. Now, as for episode 2, even though this episode didn't totally reassure me in that, I felt like it took a major step in the right direction. I just feel like you can, you know, see Ruby Rose has put her footprints into the ground of this show as the episodes unfold. So even though we're only on episode 2, I feel like she feels a lot stronger and more compelling in this episode, which, you know, is shown off in quite a few scenes already in terms of how the episode held quite a bit of emotional weight, and many scenes between her and other characters, like whether that's with Alice or her father, and, you know, just other moments like that. Now, an example of some of the emotional scenes and stuff is that Jacob Kane in this episode episode seemed to be in absolute denial that Alice could very well indeed be the daughter that he's long thought to be dead. We see him refuse to acknowledge this throughout the episode, and even to the point where he gives a shoot to kill order on Alice's life, as he can't really think that Beth has become the person who loaded enough C4 to level like an entire block of Gotham City, or later go on to do what he did to the new owners of the childhood home that they once had when they were obviously younger. That's what childhood home is, but you know what I mean? Like, Alice is not the person who Beth once was when she was a kid. I think that's very clear. But yeah, back to Jacob Kane. I feel like Dougray, however you say his name, Dougray Scott, does a great job in his role, and is arguably one of the best acted, or should I say, portrayals in the show, alongside Alice, of course, who, if you watched my review last week, I endorsed quite highly. I also enjoyed seeing Jacob Kane in those flashbacks where, you know, it offers another side as to why he might seem so ignorant in the present day, as you see him like really suffer after losing his wife and daughter in the past, and, you know, having to raise Kate by himself and cling on to hope, up until he didn't, where we learned that some bone fragments from Beth's skull were found. It was also pretty cool to see Kate Kane's newbie elements in a Batwoman, if you will, a year one kind of way. For example, in just how she got shot a few times by the Wonderland gang towards the very beginning of the episode, and, you know, she didn't realize how bulletproof the Batsuit was, and she was just like, cool. Could argue it could have been over there and then for her, but if you think about it another way, you know, vigilante noobs do make mistakes, so I am glad that they included a moment like this. Now, for Kate Kane this episode, it was about seeking the truth behind Alice, in that, was she really and truly Kate Kane's sister, or some crazy psychopath who was just read and obsessed and, you know, looked into everything to do with Kate Kane and how she lost her sister when she was younger. Now, one way for Kate to achieve this was to do a DNA test on the knife that we saw that she obtained in episode 1, which we saw was taken from her when Sophie Moore and Kate were attacked from who seemed to be the Wonderland gang, but was later revealed from Alice that she had nothing to do with that, and in fact that it was to be Jacob Kane's wife, Katherine Hamilton Kane. Now, this really reminds me of like a Moira Queen Arrow vibe, in the sense of like the secrets she has and, you know, what we've only just begun to learn, and I'm pretty interested to see where this goes. I mean, now we have to wonder why she would want to keep Kate Kane and her family from learning more about like this origin behind Alice. Like, why would she want to protect anything about that? And, you know, that just opens another door in terms of just staying tuned to this show week to week. So at this point, the overall story here for Batwoman is interesting with what we've got so far, but I'm not exactly sure it's compelling enough to see where it goes in the grand scheme of things, you know, up until the very last episode. Just in terms of like how, okay, we already know that she's Batwoman's sister, so what is going to ultimately happen there? Like, some people have also read you know, comments of saying, why would they reveal that so soon? Where I was on the opposite end in terms of how I thought it was so obvious. So I'm glad they did that. So you have to think, or at least I'm thinking, there's some kind of other big thing that we don't know is kind of happening. Or you could argue that it's just more about exploring the dynamic of Kate Kane's relationship with stopping someone who she thought she had lost years ago, but who has returned as a crazy, threatening villain, which of course is interesting within itself, and I do feel like there's a aspect of even, you know, ambiguity behind Alice still. And perhaps even this will tie into the mysterious reasons surrounding the secrecy of Katherine Hamilton Kane, trying to cover up parts there, and that will become more interesting and fascinating as each episode unfolds. Now, I definitely want to include that I'm still really enjoying Cameron Johnson's Luke Fox and his interactions with Batwoman, and just maintaining the legacy of the Batman in the Batcave. Now, as for like Kate Kane and Sophie Moore, I'm not really finding myself caring about this romance between them. I mean, I feel like I'm supposed to already, or something like that. How that clearly Sophie still does care about Kate and is just suppressing her feelings within her marriage for obvious reasons, but I don't know, I'm just not really that invested. But you could just come at me and just say, oh, come on, Boba, like they need more time to make you care about the characters. But right now, I'm just foreseeing that I'm not really going to give too much of a F about it, but that could change. Like, I'm completely open to seeing what happens. Now, I found this upcoming bit I'm about to speak about a bit weird. You know, I mean, at the same time, a lot of CW shows do this quite a lot. And how we saw after when Kate went to meet Alice at the park where they had waffles in their childhood, that after being apprehended and being teased from Alice that Kate Kane's stepsister was in danger out of not liking sisterly competition, that when Alice was being transported and a GCPD car was like tossed over the bridge into the water, Kate Kane was still in the very building where her stepsister does, you know, the kind of shadow doctoring kind of stuff to anyone and everyone, and hadn't so much as even turned her keys in the motorbike, and somehow still managed to ride there in time to save Alice, even though she was arguably already drowned at this point. Now, you could call it nitpicking, and don't worry, I'm going to come up with some counter reasons as well for those who don't give a crap about this. For example, how you could just go as far as saying that Bat-Tech breathing apparatus that Kate arrived with to save Alice, that it just somehow revived her, and Batman has the technology to save already drowned people, like every time or something. Or maybe you could just put it down to that the prisoner car hadn't quite filled up with water yet, and by the time Kate Kane got there it had, and then she was drowning, but even though arguably she was in that water for quite a while. But you know what I mean. Like, what I'm trying to say here, bottom line, is that, you know, I feel like moments in this in shows are a bit wish-washy, and I don't feel as engaged in the moment of the episode as I can blatantly tell that the writers want me to be. But I also wasn't a fan of when Kate Kane washed up on the shore as well, and there were a bunch of cops approaching her to the point of where she already had a dog quite literally, you know, barking at her, and it was like a sniffer dog, but the dog just didn't continue to follow her or bark after her when she made her escape. It just seemed that this scene was cut a bit weird, and I find moments like this in shows hard to believe. I mean, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but it just kind of ruins my suspension of disbelief. But you, at the same time, might not care about that. But I really liked that moment in the episode where Alice left a message for Kate on her bike, in that the bat, you know, seemed dead and then it just flew off. But in the message, it just reminded me of how, for Alice, you know, some people compare it to the Joker and Bruce's relationship, with how Alice said on that note about putting on the suit and all the darkness that comes with it makes you just as crazy as me. And, you know, that's quite a cool thing, you know, because you could, you know, quite literally look at Alice as Batwoman's Joker. And, you know, that's a cool little nod at that, I suppose. Now, I have to admit, I'm still kind of, you know, as a person who is kind of a little bit particular sometimes, left wondering about the whole Robin or extended Bat family stuff within Gotham. As in this episode, they mentioned, you know, a couple of Easter eggs about when Kate Kane said something about Wonder Woman. That was pretty cool, but that's besides the point. I'm on about when they mentioned Robin's high school graduation as a joke. So sure, you could just say in this iteration that certain members of the Bat family don't even exist, or like there's no Batgirl, or like, you know, something else happened, and I'm completely fine with that. But either way, we do know that Robin at least existed, and let's just assume that it was Dick Grayson's Robin. Would he have really have become Nightwing and just abandoned Gotham? Now, yes, you could say Bloodhaven, but like, if Bruce went missing, I believe he would take over more of a Batman, you know, role and protect Gotham City. But at the same time, I guess this is an unfortunate side effect of the limitations of shows when you try and do something like a Batwoman show. You kind of need to toss out a lot of things that would probably actually happen in a city if Batman went missing for 3 years. But that is all I've got to say about episode 2, guys. So just to echo what I said at the beginning, it's not amazing. I'm not really that impressed, but I'm not going to say it's not even remotely bad, but it's just somewhere in the middle for me. But it is improving marginally bit by bit, and I do have a good feeling that episode by episode, you know, being completely fair to the show, it has improved this episode, as I said, marginally, so I don't see why it's not going to carry on. But what I want to know down in the comments below is, how are you guys feeling about Batwoman after watching episode 2? Like the video if you did enjoy it, subscribe if you're a brand new, if you want to stay up to date with more videos just like this. Check out my past couple of videos, you know, that I uploaded over the past few days, just in case you missed out on them. Join my Discord server, that'll be in the top pinned comment. But that is everything, so thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you, Bat family, in the next video. Goodbye.